Hello and welcome to Newsmakers. Today we're going to be talking about education funding amongst other topics. We're here today with Kansas State Senator Steve Fitzgerald, and I'm very glad you're here with us. We're here today in the Plaza Library, and I'm your host, Nancy Lewis. So education funding. Talk to me a little about education funding in Kansas. I know there has been this Supreme Court that is looking at whether funding in Kansas is as it should be, whether it's fully funded or not. Talk to me about where you feel funding should be.
Well, get right to your point on the Gannon case. The Supreme Court is taking the case and is basically expected to support the lower court decision, which is that we should give about $500 million more to education, K-12 education. That's not really based upon anything in my reading, other than the fact that a study has said from the early 2000s that more money should be put in. The Kansas Constitution says that the legislature shall make suitable provision for funding, and that suitable provision is the basic formula and the way things are laid out.
That's pretty broad, isn't it? Suitable provision? I mean, that could be just about anything, right?
And that's right, and that begs the question of who gets to say what's suitable. And so the basic question is it suitable in the eyes of the legislature or in the eyes of the court? And very frankly, we have the division of powers, and we depend upon the court to judge certain things, but we don't think that this is a judicable item. This is something that needs to be done by the legislature because it's dispensing taxpayer dollars. And there's a certain thing about representation and taxation. They go together. And the judges don't represent anybody. The legislature does. The point I wanted to make, though, Nancy, is how much money is enough? And in the last several, 5, 10 years, the amount of money that the school districts have been getting has been going up in most cases. In some cases, went down slightly, and then it's been staying fairly stable with a slight up in the last 2 years. But during this entire time, their cash reserves that the school districts have has continued to increase every year.
Yeah, there are some people who might say that they're putting some more money away because they're unclear as to where their economic future is going to be. So some might say that's kind of smart to sock a little money away.
Well, that's exactly right, and it is. It's always prudent, and I wouldn't fault them for that. At the same time, they're increasing the amount of money that they're spending per student. They're up to over $12,760 per student in Kansas.
Right.
The number of teachers and administrators per student is going up, and the amount of money in cash reserve, as I mentioned, is going up to the point now where it's at $1.7 billion that is in cash reserves. That's all fine, but at the same time they're doing that, they're crying poor, and they're trying to sue us for another $500 million.
Do you hear a lot from parents?
Not really. Not really. Some of the schools have cut back on various things here and there, and they've blamed us for it. And some of the schools have done different things in different ways. So it's not, while we're talking in gross, that's one thing. Each school district is different. And the actual funding for the schools and the education is done by the local school board. They make the really important decisions.
I so wish we had more time to talk about this. I'm getting the big rap. So good to have you here. I wish we had more time. And thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We hope to see you next time on Newsmaker.